In another search, the Canadian Coast Guard and the U.S. Coast Guard are continuing to look for the Titan submersible and its 5 passengers off Newfoundland. It takes adventurers to see the wreck of the Titanic. It's a dive of nearly 4,000 meters to the bottom of the sea. Now, a short time ago, the U.S. Coast Guard said they expect the vessel has about 40 hours of breathable air remaining.
This is a complex search, and it's complex for a variety of reasons. You're talking about a search area that's 900 miles east of Cape Cod, 400 miles south of St. John's. So logistically speaking, it's hard to bring assets to bear. It takes time, it takes coordination. And then we're dealing with, you're dealing with a surface search and a subsurface search. And frankly, that makes it an incredibly complex operation.
The CBC's Alison Northcott has been following this story and has more on the search efforts.
So far, they have had no luck in locating the submersible, despite a huge effort underway now to locate it. There is the effort of the U.S. Coast Guard, the Canadian Coast Guard as well, the U.S. Navy, as well as private companies that are offering certain kinds of expertise. And the Coast Guard says they're continuing to communicate to figure out what kinds of equipment they can coordinate, and getting that equipment so far offshore where the site, they believe the site of the submersible could be. They have planes searching the surface of the water, hoping that the submersible came up to the surface of the water. So they're looking by sight in that way. They also have tools that they're using to go very deep down in the water. They're dropping down sonar buoys to try to be able to locate this vessel. But so far, they have had no luck. And they were saying during the press conference, even if they do locate it, the Coast Guard was asked, would you even be able to bring that submersible up from so deep down in the water and save these people? And the Coast Guard wasn't able to really explain how that would be done and if they were able to do that. They just said that it is something that they were working on and that they were deploying as much expertise as possible as they continued this search.
Now, this vessel went missing on Sunday. Maybe tell us a bit about the voyage.
Yeah, it was a vessel that headed off on Sunday. It was towed by a mother ship that brought it out to that area. It was going deep down underwater to look at the wreckage of the Titanic. And it lost signal from the mothership, lost its signal after about an hour and 45 minutes. They'd been exchanging text messages because that low under the water, there is no way to have GPS. So that is when the Coast Guard was called in. And there are 5 people reportedly on board. British billionaire Hamish Harding described in a statement from his company and his family as an explorer and an entrepreneur. The Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman, and the chief executive and founder of the company, Ocean's Gate Expeditions, Stockton Rush, and a submersible pilot, a French submersible pilot, Paul-Henri Narjolet. We heard earlier today from the Fisheries Minister for Canada. Have a listen to what she had to say about this ongoing search.
This is a hugely emotional issue for those who are doing this work to save the people aboard the submersible and their families, and every effort is being made. It's an international initiative at this point, with assets coming from Great Britain and from Germany.
Now, when that submersible headed under the water, the Coast Guard was saying it had about 96 hours of oxygen left in it, and to sustain people for 96 hours. They say at this point, after much time has passed, they believe there's maybe about 40 hours of oxygen left. So, of course, every minute, every hour counts in this search to try to find the people who are missing.
CBC's Alison Northcott in Montreal. CBS News correspondent David Pogue has a unique perspective on this story. He has been on board the missing submersible. Pogue told us what he thinks the crew may be dealing with right now.
Really, there's only 3 possibilities. Possibility number 1 is that they are on the surface somewhere, bobbing away. This sub has 7 different return to the surface backup systems. So sandbags that drop off, lead pipes that drop off, the legs can drop off, there's an air balloon, there's thrusters, and one of them works even if everybody on board is unconscious. So one of them is a timed release thing that sends the sub to the surface after X amount of hours. So maybe they're out there bobbing away, but remember, they're bolted in from the outside. So they have no way to get out or get more air. So that's terrifying thing number one, is that the Coast Guard is just looking for a white capsule in 900 miles of whitecaps. The other possibility is that they're underwater. And that's even scarier, because even if they're alive, if they're down there, even if we find them, if they're down there, we have no way to get them back up. There's no submersible that can reach those depths, that can be brought to this site in time, let alone that has towing capacity. They don't. A submersible is not a submarine. A submersible doesn't have very much power. It has to be carried everywhere on a ship. And so it couldn't tow this thing to the surface.